Hello everyone, and I'm truly really happy to meet all of you. You know, I know there's a lot of interest, fear, excitement, and misunderstanding of artificial intelligence. And I think that's why all of you are here, because there is the hype presentation, and then there is understanding what's going on. And the past few years, I've taken a very deep dive into understanding artificial intelligence in terms of the human condition. So we're going to go on a little journey together, and I'll go slowly, and I hope you will enjoy and journey with me as I explain the process. Okay. So I made the world's first interactive, immersive brainwave opera in a 360-degree theater. Then I made an emotionally intelligent, artificial intelligence brainwave opera. Now, what I found personally strange is they were always about World War II. Now, I grew up in New York. My family has been in New York for 120 years. I had no experience of World War II. I was born after the war. Why was I, an American, making operas about World War II? I found it strange. I finally asked myself, why am I doing this? So then I began to explore a new science called epigenetics. And epigenetics is how trauma can be inherited through many generations, especially in, let's say, cultures of diaspora, which means people who have left their original lands and settled somewhere else and they don't know where they're from, which could be the case with African Americans. They were taken forcibly and they didn't know their language or their land. Or it can be inherited trauma, such as I'm sure Germany has a lot of inherited trauma. And the stronger the trauma, the stronger the change in our DNA, and it's passed on generationally. It's a new science, okay? It's only been around since about 2011, so there's a lot of research being done with this science. So I started really thinking about this because I think in my own personal background, which I'll go into, there's a lot of genetic corruption, and I'll explain this. So as I began asking these questions, visual AI started happening. This was 2018, 2019. And I saw visual AI and I said, this is going to change everything. I saw it, not just ChatGPT, which is verbal but visual. And it's going to change filmmaking, which this year everyone is realizing. But I understood this in 2018. It was going to do that. So I started thinking, how can this understand myself and what I've done and my experience, okay? So in 2021, the first visual AI came out with pictures that the public could use. So this was early 2021, and this is a rendering with one kind of algorithm. And the prompt here is, the sun is shining, but it's raining outside. And that was the prompt I gave it, and it gave me this picture. Remember, 2021 is light years ago in AI history, but you know, okay. Then I tried another type of algorithm with the same prompt. The sun is shining, but it is raining outside. And this was generated by something called DALL-E. And DALL-E was closed, you couldn't use it, so the Russians cloned it, and it was all over the internet, so you could use it. And so it looks very different from the previous one. And then I tried another model, and this is the same prompt. The sun is shining, but outside it is raining. So I was thinking, where is this coming from? What kind of images am I looking at? Why? I don't understand. So I also wanted to know who's making the decisions to show these images. Can they understand my epigenetic trauma? What is my epigenetic trauma? What is my family history? And where is AI going with this? In America, we're very cut off from our past, especially if your family's been there over 100 years. You know, it's like our history is a fog. We don't know, most people. So early in 2021, I decided I was going to use one word, the word queer. And in British English from the 19th century, queer meant, oh, he's a artistic or strange person. Now it has a sexualized meaning, but for 100 years it didn't. So I just put in the word queer, and I used 6 different image banks with the same word. And they all returned somewhat of the same image. A rainbow flag, I didn't say anything, I just said queer, it could mean strange, and this was in 2021. And I said, why do they all have this strange looking person with an eyebrow or glasses against a brick wall or a couch with a colored flag, a rainbow flag, and maybe some language? But it doesn't make sense. Why? Who is making these decisions? I don't understand. Then I decided in English to add the word boy or girl. Queer boy, queer girl. So the boy has a naked chest and the rainbow colors, and the girl on the bottom looks a little more, pink and makeup, but you can see it's still finding the same types of image. And I'm going, why should the word queer boy show up someone with a naked chest? I don't understand this. I thought this was really bizarre. So then I was working with some native Chinese speakers, and I said, let's use Google Translate, and then let's use Chinese slang for the same term. So the first one on the left is queer boy from Google Translate, and the next one is queer boy in the sort of underground slang. The thing Google Translate won't show you. And the same for queer girl and in native and Google Translate. So why is it showing bottles of alcohol, naked kind of sexy bodies, or trying to be, and some kind of underground world, but you can see it still has the eyebrow, And I'm saying, this is shocking. I was very shocked by this. So then I was also working with some Indian programmers who spoke Hindi and Tamil. And in Hindi, using another data bank, it didn't even register a body, but it had the rainbow flag. And in Tamil, which is a South Indian language, it looked like a piece of toast with pesto on it. And I thought, what? How is this possible? I really couldn't believe it. And then when I threw in queer boy and girl in Hindi and Tamil, on the left is queer boy native, queer boy Tamil native. It was all native speaking we were using, queer girl Hindi and queer girl Tamil. I mean, what? I go, why doesn't anyone know about this? So then I did a very deep investigation, and I thought, where are they taking these images from? Now remember, this is 2021. And if you look, Food 101, Stanford, which means Stanford University, cars, flowers, hateful memes, right? So, they're taking them from the aircraft, very strange databanks, and they're making the images from this. And I got very alarmed when I saw this. This is millions of images. I got deeply upset when I saw it. And then in March 31st, 2022, new image sets came out, and this is called Lion 5B. 5B stands for 5 billion. So this big data set came out of 5 billion images to make images from, and I also asked, where are they coming from? Okay. Then, in August 16, 2022, something came out called Lion Aesthetics. And I know that this was a bunch of computer scientists, specifically Christoph, I can't pronounce it, Schumann, making aesthetics. And I thought, why is a computer scientist making aesthetics? This is very dangerous because I'm in the art world. I thought, this is crazy. And what does this mean? And who is deciding? So I went into the aesthetic predictor. I said, I really want to understand this. And I saw that they rated it. You can see rating 1, rating 2, in numbers like 0, 1, 2, 0 to 10. So any picture could get a 0 to 10 rating of aesthetic likeness or prettiness, and it was a computer scientist making the decision, or computer scientists. And I thought I was gonna oh no, this is not good. Yeah. But everyone was very excited about this. At the same time, we all know who that is. Mark Zuckerberg decided that he was going to make models of all languages in the world. There are 7,000 languages. And he called No Language Left Behind. So AI could understand all languages. So I was thinking, okay, AI has this computer science guy telling me what's beautiful, and Mark Zuckerberg telling me about languages. I think we have a problem. I really understood this. Not that they shouldn't make the technology, they should, but they shouldn't make the decisions, and they were. So then, what happens when you make visual AI is you put a name to it. This is a desk. This is a computer. And so it has a tag. This is a person. This is a girl. Who is putting those tags on these images? That is who is putting the tags on the images. It's people in, we say, fourth world countries who are being paid by the minute in a language that's not theirs to tag an image and move on to the next one. And that's going into the image bank permanently. And there are these factories that are doing that. And this is 33%. Choose the correct answer, fill in the blank. And culturally, these people all over the world may not even know what they're looking at. And this is going into the 5 billion image tagging, because when you say, give me a picture of a rose, their rose is easy, but they're making the decision. Okay? And because it's cheap. Because the machines cannot say what it is. It has to be a human to begin with. So as an artist, I thought this was really exciting. So one of the things that happened is a movement began about data workers, because they're treated very badly. They see a lot of terrible images and they're paid terribly. So one thing that happened after that article came out is workers' rights, data workers' rights, that started. But to get back to the non-political part, in the late 2021, I decided I needed to make movies with these images, and the technology did not exist at all. And you could go into these computer environments and with programmers, and you could make a movie. So in 2021, I made my first AI movie of 7 seconds, and I was so proud. It took me 4 months to learn how to use the program. And this prompt is, and he breaks out those shining things, those teeth. That's the prompt. Okay, so I'm going to show you my very first AI movie, which I was so proud of. And that was state of the art in 2021. And it was these AI movies that were rendered to move. I was just thrilled. I said, oh, I did it. Then, around the same time that these AI movies started being available, all these styles came out that you could apply to the movies, and most of them looked like this, which to me was teenage science fiction, which is okay. That's nice. So, but we know more than this. So let's say pencil sketch. That's a mushroom in a pencil sketch. This is a 3D. It's called sci-fi. This was the kind of styles. And for those of you who have been watching AI images, you remember this style. For those of you who don't, this was the style in late 2021, early 2022. This is all you could do, which is why my movie looked the way it did, because these were the only styles you could apply. And of course, they were horrible, but that's all we had. Now I'm going to show you a 12-second clip, and I'm going to show you how AI forms a movie. And what you're looking at now, it's called noise. That's the technical term for it, noise. And AI takes the noise through an algorithm and does its magic and makes an image. And you're going to see, this was very early 2022. I then made a 12-second movie out of noise. And that is, even today, how it does it. Under the hood, if you have the car and you open it up, that's what it does. Now you can change the zoom, you can change the angle, you can change the color, you can change the intensity, but basically it takes mathematical noise with pixels and it makes something like that with a prompt, you tell it what to make. So now we're into 2022, okay? Light years ago in AI history. So then what I wanted to start doing was make a movie about my epigenetic trauma. And I wanted to see how AI would interpret it. So I started experimenting with real footage and how AI would look at the real footage and it would interpret it. So this was my first try at giving AI what's called image-to-image prompts, as well as text-to-image. In other words, this is what I actually saw. How do you, AI, interpret what I saw? And I wanted to know. So I'm going to just show you this.
My friend and I were in Latvia driving from Riga to Liepāja. About midway, we entered the quaint village of Āzapūt, full of small, centuries-old wooden houses and an old stone castle, the Livonian Order, built by the Crusaders.
So you can see I said the word Crusaders, and I showed an image of a castle, and that's what AI returned as it built. It was trying to both talk to the image and the image and the prompt. So I'm going to play this once more so you can watch it, because these are very short.
My friend and I were in Latvia driving from Riga to Liepāja. About midway, we entered the quaint village of Āzapūt, full of small, centuries-old wooden houses and an old stone castle, the Livonian Order, built by the Crusaders.
So the characters, later in new versions of AI, they got rid of the characters, but in the early versions, this is what you had. So then what happened is, in order to make these images, you couldn't make them anymore on a little computer. You had to use a very big computer that was very strong. So I'm an artist. I didn't have the money for a big computer, but I have friends. And my friends at Hong Kong Polytech had a big server. And they said, "Oh, Ellen, we'll give you a private network into our server and you can make your images because we like what you're doing with your artwork." So I was very excited. I went, "Oh, I have a big computer for free I can use." So that was very exciting. And that is still true at the moment for artists with images. They need very strong computers. That will change, and I'm sure you've all read about DeepSeek and the stock market, and NVIDIA in the past 2 days. What DeepSeek is doing that I'm very happy about, DeepSeek, that's S-E-E-K, DeepSeek. It's the new Chinese AI chip that changed the stock market in the past 2 days. It's a big thing. And it's making it so artists can use little computers and string them together, or people can use them. They don't need these big $8,000, $5,000 computers. So that, but up until 2 days ago, you needed them, okay? So in 2023, I became a Fulbright Scholar in the Department of Mathematics at the University of Warsaw because I wanted mathematicians and computer scientists to work with. But I ran a collab and we invited artists and theater people and cinematographers to form teams so we could all work together. And the collab was called AI, or Artificial Intelligence in a Time of War, because obviously Poland's on the border with Ukraine and it was very close. So I started collaborating with my Hong Kong collaborator, and this is how we did it. I had to go online with Hong Kong in order to go into this program, which we were running sort of over there, but in those days you couldn't. And I began to I had to learn how to use programs like this, and like you, all of you, unless you're engineers, you look at this and you want to cry, right? It's like, what does it mean? How does it work? I don't understand. And there's no one to teach you. So it's like hours and hours and hours. It was really tough for me. I'm telling you, it was not easy. And then I had to chop all the movies into pieces and then put them back together again, because I wanted to see, I'll tell you what I wanted to see. I wanted to see how different languages, just like I showed you the Chinese and the Hindi and the Tamil, I wanted to see how different languages would understand my trauma, image languages. Like if I told someone from South India about my personal trauma, could they understand? Because they have no cultural context. If I told someone from Borneo about my trauma, would they understand? And how would AI tell them? And can AI understand? And this is very important because AI is going to start interpreting human emotions and human history for all peoples. So this little thought of mine is actually where we're going in the next 20 years, that AI will interpret this. And like I said, I was looking at that guy, Christopher Schumann's aesthetic predictors. I was going, what is going on? So I made some test experiments, and I used real and archival footage. And the picture in the upper right is from World War II, as I'm sure you know. And it said, a woman held a child to her breast. He wouldn't let go. And that's the prompt, and that's the picture. That's, on the upper right, is how that same prompt, a woman held a child to her breast, he wouldn't let go, was interpreted in Xhosa, which is the language of South Africa. On the bottom, that's how it was interpreted in Tamil. So I said a woman, and there's a man with sunglasses and a beard. In Chinese is the middle, so I don't know what that is. And Yiddish is all the way on the lower right, and there's no child, and it's a man with a beard. The woman is gone. Which was the problem I originally ran into, right? That's what I first saw. So I was like, as an artist, I was like going, this is amazing. As a computer scientist, it's not, or a data scientist, it's not amazing, but as an artist, I got very excited about this. I went, oh, AI is sick. That's great, I love it. Like, woo, what can I do with that? So when I was in Warsaw, this was my team. A neuroscience student, a sound artist, a mathematics student, and a cinematographer. This was part of the collab. And also, because you will all understand this boy on the left is a Ukrainian programmer, Tony, and I wrote a letter to the Ministry of Sports, Youth, and Culture, and he is of military age. And I got him out of Ukraine, he and his wife, and he worked with us, and now he's in Estonia with his wife. And so he's, studying for a PhD, but I was able to get him out of Ukraine, and he did not serve in the military, although he did a lot of tech work for them outside. So we brought people who were experiencing war right into the collab as part of it, and I thought this was very important to do. And then The other thing I like to do is bring the human body into my work. I like the human senses, like brainwaves and things. And here we decided to bring in something very simple, which is muscle. You know, when you flex your muscle, it's a signal. Or, you know, you get you go to the doctor and they put those tabs on you and they monitor your heartbeat and stuff. All of that are signals. So we decided to use that because I like audience interaction with human signals. So also, we made these chips ourselves. We made these. We sent them to China because I was in the Department of Mathematics, so they all sent them. We made tests. We tested it. And we made our own sensors. And then I thought, okay, this is what I want it to look like. You know, I want it to be 4 languages. I want a human being to have sensors on their face as they watch the movie. And I want the face and their reaction when they watch the movie to make the soundtrack. Because I want them to see the movie and their experience, a volunteer will make the sound. And it'll be very authentic. It was like I would take one of you and go, oh, can I put sensors on your face? Watch the movie, what do you think? And you'll see the movie. And they made the sound, and I'll show you that. So that was the volunteer. Yeah, it's amazing. And let me tell you what's going on. When you frown, like this, put your finger right here and you can feel your muscle right on your eyebrow go down. You can actually feel it, just like that. That's one signal. And when you smile, the muscle here moves. So it was very simple. We said to the audience, or this one volunteer, if you like it, what you're seeing, smile. If you don't like it, frown. That's all we said. It didn't hurt. It was just little pieces, you know, no pain, no, she didn't have to do anything but watch a movie with this on her face. It's a girl, by the way. Now, what happened is as we were showing this movie, the war in the Middle East broke out and we didn't know it. We're actually showing the movie as the war's breaking out in parallel time. And the movie's about epigenetic trauma, and we had no idea when we were showing it what was going on. We just showed the movie. So that was a little strange. So now I'm going to show you the movie, and I'll stop it at the beginning to explain to you what's going on, okay? But you now have a background about the languages and how it corrupts things. So it tells a story, a very simple story I'm narrating. Okay, but I'm going to start it. And it's real footage and archival footage. The cinematographer insisted on going back to the village and filming it. So he did in Latvia. So let me just put on my glasses. Okay.
My friend and I were in Latvia driving from Riga to Liepāja. About midway, we entered the quaint village of Azaput.
Okay, so what's going on here, and you'll see this throughout the movie, that is the actual village of Azaput, that the cinematographer, and I'm saying we entered the quaint village of Azaput. That is the Chinese interpretation of we entered the village of Azaput, and what Chinese AI is seen from that scene. That's how it's interpreting that actual scene. And that is how Yiddish AI is interpreting that actual scene. So the water has disappeared. The buildings have become pagodas or some kind of, I don't know what building. If you look, the trees have changed. The trees have almost disappeared. There's this weird kind of desert tree there. So this is how AI is interpreting the exact same phrase and the exact same image in a different culture. Okay? So you'll see this more and more, and that's why I stopped it here, so you'll begin to understand what you're looking at when you see images compared. Okay?
full of small, centuries-old wooden houses and an old stone castle, the Livonian Order.
Yeah, now there's the old stone castle, the Livonian Order, and look how it comes out in Tamal. Okay, so I'm setting you up for where this is going.
Built by the Crusaders. My friend first took me to a yellow stucco and brick building, the Cultural Center. She wanted me to...
Okay, so this is the language Xhosa, and that's the actual image that it's looking at. And it's making that square looking at that square. It's doing image recognition. Okay, so now I'll let it run, but I'm just trying to let you know what you're looking at. Just see it.
Then we went to a very large structure that was an artist residency. It was called the Surdi Residency. The house had backyard studios with a photo darkroom, ceramic woodworking facilities, and other crafts. The building was so old, it is listed as a UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage Site. The head of the residency, my friend and I all had coffee. I told my host I was an artist from New York City. That is all I told her. She looked distressed and said she had something very important to give me. We'd never met before. I could not imagine what she wanted to give me. She excused herself, got up and left the room. Then she came back and handed me a small publication called Narratives About the Jews of Azaput. She said she worked on it for a year, interviewing people who were still alive and could give testimonies before they died. She wanted to give it to me as a gift. I did not know what she was talking about. We finished our coffee, and my friend and I continued our journey. I put the book away and did not look at it for weeks. Then I read it. It was a collection of memories of people who lived before and during World War II and had knowledge of the Jewish community in Azaput. Some of the recollections are personal, and some are snippets they heard from their parents and other adults who are no longer alive. Many of the people who tell these stories are still living, but they are old. So now we hear bang bang. Our neighbor hit himself. He was the head of the town council. A woman had an infant pressed to her breast. She wouldn't let go of her baby. He ran up to her and shoved her with the butt of his rifle, shoved her in a pit with that baby. I saw when they were digging them up years later that one had some kind of little bundle cramped in the bones. The years went by. It was 4 years after the war. They started to dig all of them out. That day, Mother told me to graze the cows on that side. One of my cows smells that horrible smell. You see what they did? They put barbed wire around. I saw not just our neighbor there, but some of the other shooters. 2 had whores next to them drinking. Bottles are scattered around. A naked fat woman is lying in the bushes, right there at the old grave's edge. Right there they were digging them out. They pour chlorine over them. Now the whole world stinks. One of my cows goes totally crazy. It was a hot day. The pit is opened and they start pulling them out, and the cows are bellowing and running, probably hopped up from the stench of chlorine. They pull them out in pieces. The skulls were already naked. There was also rot. The bones, they were horrible. And then, about the gold, the teeth, I have to tell it to the end. The cows are bellowing. One is hanging over the barbed wire and tore up her milk bags, and they're laughing. And what do I see? In the sun, I can still see one of those naked skulls before my eyes. The gold is gleaming. Gold teeth in their mouths. One of the men, right at the edge of the grave, he was eating. It doesn't bother him what he's doing. Wipes his hand like this and grabs. Next to him are these pliers. And he goes over and crunch, crunch, crunch. "Give me that bag," he says to the other Latvians. And he breaks out those shiny things from that skull. Those teeth.
So this is in Warsaw, and you're going to see the about 2 minutes of the performer with patches. Right now you'll hear the soundtrack much more, her reactions, and you'll see them as she's watching the biometric part.
Then she came back and handed me a small publication called Narratives About the Jews of Azaput. She said she worked on it for a year, interviewing people who were still alive and could give testimonies before they died. She wanted to give it to me as a gift. I did not know what she was talking about. It was a collection of memories of people who lived before and during World War II and had knowledge of the Jewish community in Azaput. Some of the recollections are personal and some are snippets they heard from their parents and other adults who are no longer alive. Our neighbor hid himself. He was the head of the town council. A woman had an infant pressed to her breast. She wouldn't let go of her baby. He ran up to her and shoved her with the butt of his rifle, shoved her in a pit with that baby. I saw when they were digging them up years later that one had some kind of little bundle cramped in bones. They pour chlorine over them. Now the whole world stinks. One of my cows goes totally crazy. It was a hot day. The pit is opened and they start pulling them out, and the cows are bellowing and running, probably hopped up from the stench of chlorine. They pull them out in pieces. And what do I see? In the sun, I can still see one of those naked skulls before my eyes. The gold is gleaming. Gold teeth in their mouths. And he goes over and crunch, crunch, crunch. "Give me that bag," he says to the other Latvians. And he breaks out those shiny things from that skull. Those teeth.
So, as a follow-up, what I've done with this work is I have published a discussion of this work in a new field of study called trauma-informed placemaking, which is a new discipline, and a new book came out about it, to use place and trauma as a way to work with healing. Okay, that's one thing I've done with it. I did work in Poland with something called the Matzula Foundation, who go all around and restore desecrated graveyards. And that was very healing. Even though I'm not Polish, it was really intense. And the work has been published in a book with the Harvard MiR.LAB called New Dramaturgies of Contemporary Opera, The Practitioner's Perspective. And also, I will be presenting this piece at the 30th International Symposium of Electronic Art in Seoul, Korea this year. So this is a very large 10-day festival about electronic art, and I'll be presenting this work that I've done, the research and the implications of it over here. So I'm trying to also work with the social impact to raise awareness about these issues with AI, cross-cultural understanding, and interpretation, because AI is, as we all know, moving very quickly. And these issues are not discussed that much. And so this is something I'm trying very hard to address for world culture moving forward. And so that's my presentation. And thank you for your patience and understanding.